Go ahead.
What's going on, guys, and welcome to another edition of Jay Bird Watching, the official podcast of jaysjournal.com and part of the StadiumScene.tv network. I am your host this evening, back in the hosting chair after a long absence, Mr. Adam Corsair, and joining me are the usual co-hosts Craig Borden behind the scenes, Brendan Pennicar, and Mr. Chris Key. How are we doing tonight for the holiday edition?
Holiday, let's go.
What is going on, boys?
Good deal.
I love how you're sporting the ugly sweater and I just have the ugly office right now as the dog's clearly ripping some shit up in my office.
There it is.
I got an ugly sweater for all the teams. So tonight I'm rocking the Blue Jays one. I have a Bills one. Actually, my wife just bought me a Bills one. And of course, I have a Raptors one, of course. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So with the holidays approaching, we are continuing our tradition, as I tweeted out, with our Christmas wish list episode, offering up our personal wishes for what we would like the Jays to do this coming season. Now, before we get into that, there are rules when it comes to the Christmas wish list. We are not going to include the return of baseball because that is ubiquitous around all of baseball fanhood, not just Jays fanhood. Every baseball fan wants this to resume activities, baseball, rumors and whatnot. They want it to resume. So obviously that's on the Christmas wish list. We're going to be keying in on specific things outside of that. So we're going to tee that up later. Right now, I want to touch on a few Jays related topics that we didn't get to really divulge into last week. I haven't been on the show, with the exception of last week, for approximately 3 months. So there's a lot of things I need to say with my chest, Cavan Biggio being one of them. But I want to start with Freddie Freeman before we get into anything else. So I'm sure you guys have already talked about it. I'm sure you touched on it, but Freddie Freeman is being rumored to be pursued by the Blue Jays, and how there's a question as to how this relates to Vladdy. We are well aware that Vladdy's transition to a full-time first baseman has been nothing short of fantastic, and he is arguably the best player at the position in all of baseball, and I don't even think that's hyperbole. With the pursuit of Freeman, it's made many wonder if Vladdy would make the shift back to third. Room for Freeman. Obviously, Freeman's a natural first baseman. Yet it has been reported that there are absolutely no plans for Vladdy to do so. Brendan, let's start with you. Should the Jays pursue Freddie Freeman? Is this a square peg, round hole situation, and where it doesn't really make much sense? Or do you think the interest in Freeman is legitimate? And if it is legitimate, do you think that it's a full-time DH thing? And does it actually endanger Vladdy's position at first base?
There's actually rumors from some people that think Freddie Freeman was the one who approached the Blue Jays about their interest.
That's what I heard as well.
Yeah, I forget who said that, but I'm pretty sure a couple outlets similar to our podcast and similar to Jay's Journal were saying the same thing, that at the beginning of free agency is coming up, that for the first time in God knows how long, a very high-profile free agent actually reached out to the Blue Jays to gauge their interest in signing the client. And that
Nicholson Smith was the first one to tweet that out and say it on At the Letters.
Exactly. So there is rumors that was Freddie Freeman. If that's the case, that's super exciting. And I don't care if that creates a logjam. You absolutely sign Freddie Freeman. The interesting thing is how the ramifications go from there, because, you could have Vlad and Freeman split time at first base / DH. Freeman can play some third base. That is also something that we've seen in the past. Vlad can play some third base. But I think the easy fix is clearing one of the outfielders off of the roster to not have either Teoscar, Lourdes, or Randall or George Springer DHing. You roll with your 3 guys. You have a 4th outfielder that's not making as much money as Randall Grichuk, and then your primary DH / first baseman is rotating between Freddie Freeman and Vlad. So any way possible, I think you got to sign him if that's the case. And who was it? I think we were talking about this a couple episodes ago, Chris and Craig. Wasn't it Carlos Baerga who brought that up on his Instagram, saying that there was some legit rumors to that, and it could happen. So I would keep all eyes and ears on Freddie Freeman when free agency opens again, when the lockout gets sorted, because there seem to be some legs to that.
Chris?
Yeah, how does a consistent 300 average sound? How does 31 home runs sound? 180 hits plus consistently, 3-time Silver Slugger, a Gold Glove if you believe in that, and MVP, multiple All-Star appearances if you so choose to believe in that. Not to mention the very much needed in this lineup left-handed bat.
Exactly.
Which is probably why the Blue Jays had so much interest in Corey Seager as well, as they wanted that left-handed bat. Of course, if Freddie Freeman wants to sign with the Blue Jays anywhere between $25 and $30 million for however many years he so chooses, I think you do that. The positioning is where it gets really difficult, though, because like we have seen as okay, so 2-3 years ago we had great defense and Brandon Drury over at third base, but he couldn't hit a ball to save his life. The last year and a bit we've had Kevin Biggio at third base, who has proven that he can get on base, but he can't catch or throw a ball to save his life. We haven't had a complete player there, and I'm not sure if the fix on that is moving Vlad there, who has time and time again proven that he cannot play third base. I'm not so sure if I want to tie up $25 million or $30 million in Freddie Freeman to go to a position that what I'm getting at, yes, signing Freddie Freeman does a lot for your lineup, but you have two really big glaring holes on your infield still that Freeman does not solve. And I think there's, as much as I would love Freddie Freeman, the reasons I've already listed, he doesn't fit what this team needs right now. And as much as that bat plays so perfectly for this team, there's nowhere for him to play. And like, you're not going to make Vlad DH 81 games in a year. Like, it's just not going to happen. You're probably not going to DH Freddie Freeman for 81 games in a year either.
Why not?
Because he's too damn good.
Yeah, but I think Vladdy's
he's too
better.
valuable in the. Yeah, but who's playing third base then?
I don't care. I'm sorry. I legitimately don't care unless it's Ramirez. And obviously that's not on the table right now, but you could do a lot worse than Espinal.
Okay, then who plays second base?
Gavin.
Yeah, you
haven't
solved any problems on this team then.
What do you mean?
You've replaced Simeon's offense.
And you've replaced Simeon's offense, but Simeon was your best defensive infielder.
What's wrong with Gavin's defense?
You could do a lot better. You could.
I would
honestly. I would rather have Espinal on second base than Biggio.
Oh, you hurt my heart. Is this payback for my Ray comment?
No, the truth hurts, and like we can. I'm not saying anything bad about Freddie Freeman. Like, his bat plays perfectly for what this team needs, but his positioning is just, it's so on the opposite end of the spectrum for what this team needs right now. Like, you don't screw with Guerrero right now. You don't. He finally clicked and is now what, for three or so years we were all banging at the door to have him break out, and there was this side of the fan base that was all about like, oh, he's a bust. He's not a bust. Fine. We're at that point where he's not a bust.
His jersey said that.
Yeah.
Like,
his jersey did say that.
Yeah. Like, he's not a bust now. Or he never was. He just needed an extra 2 years to figure it out, which is perfectly fine. Like, it took 6 years for Josh Donaldson to figure it out, and then he was an MVP. Like, and Guerrero would have been an MVP this year if it wasn't for that freak down in LA. So,
well, okay, I want to just interject. Why can't we offer the same consideration to Gavin after 2 years? I'm not saying he's going to be an all-star level.
Because he isn't Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
No, I understand that, but why can't we just offer him the same consideration that he's not a bust and he can play solid defense?
I'm not saying that he's a bust. I'm not saying that he's a bust by any means, but I think that you can do a lot better than him.
Of course.
Espinal gives you a lot better defensively, You may get some more with the bat from Biggio, but from what we saw with Espinal last year, he can definitely handle the bat.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't mind losing the little bit of offense you might get at second base with Espinal, but once again, he hit like 300 last year. Small sample size, granted. And Biggio, you know what? Biggio was hurt last year as well. He might come back and be the walking god of everything and just get his way on base, but like he cannot near third base next year. He can't.
Absolutely not. Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
And like that, he can't go anywhere near third base next year, and Guerrero can't be anywhere near third base.
Agreed.
Or Freeman.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you're not going to pay Freddie Freeman $30 million a year to sit on the bench half the year and just DH, and you're not going to pay him $30 million a year to go over to third base. It's not going to happen.
That's why Vlad at 600,000 will DH.
Yeah. So hold on before I
you
give
don't do that to him.
Craig, did you want to add anything to this before we
Yeah,
expulge?
I just want to interject to the whole fact that I think that you guys were hitting on the nail. That this is how do you replace the offense that you're losing from having Marcus Semien no longer in this lineup? And I'm sorry to say, I don't care who it is. You're looking at this free agent line, bats. What better bat fits this lineup than Freddie Freeman as a power hitting left-hander?
Yeah.
So that right there is the full-on appeal. All the rest of this stuff turns into the embarrassment of riches category, and you figure this shit out. And fuck, for all I know, there's something else that comes in line here in the midst of this whole thing too. But if you got a guy, if let's say Freddie Freeman is the guy approaching the Blue Jays saying, I want in, he's also willing to do whatever the hell he might need to do to get in. Maybe that is play third base. Maybe that is play left field and move Lourdes over to right and Teoscar moves a DH or something. You know what I mean? It could be 1,000,001 different things. But I think at the end of the day,
has Freeman ever played the outfield though?
No, I don't think so.
Oh God.
College, I think I saw in there, but that was way long ago. But he has played third base.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm in that ballpark. If we're going to literally bludgeon every damn team, I really don't care where his club ends up or if it's on the DH thing.
And like Freddie Freeman's 32.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm wondering if by the time this is over with, he's going to be a full-time DH anyway. Maybe he realizes that and he wants to be on a team that can win more World Series.
Yeah, maybe.
So,
yeah, I think
or maybe
he's there.
Yeah, he's already got the one thing he wants. He wants to keep winning. Maybe the Blue Jays are his best chance. And like I said, it's going to cost us obviously to do that. He's not going to take a freaking mail-in, contract or anything. But to that point, this offense is infinitely ridiculous. Even if you end up having Biggio and Espinal at the end of the bottom of the lineup, and with whatever insert catcher, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really don't see. They need that extra thump, and they surprisingly found it in Marcus Semien last year to the 9 billionth degree, right? Nobody ever thought he was going to go off for the kind of season that he did. So we need to find a way to help this pitching staff out. Yes, we have another ace, but we're really just dropping, Gausman in for Ray, so that's really a wash. You have to have that offense to be able to stay in this thing in the American League, and Freddie Freeman spells that to the T, or to the free.
Yeah, not to mention a full season of Springer as well. That's definitely going to help.
That's going to help.
Can I ask you this then? If say they sign Freeman and they run with Biggio at second and Espinal at third, one of them gets hurt.
Who's one of who?
Is Groshans ready to come up and fill that role for
Kevin Smith will be the guy.
Yeah, he's going to be the guy I think teetering.
Can he play short and second though?
Yeah,
he actually plays all three main positions in the diamond. I think he's even got some first baseman.
Okay.
So does Kevin,
because he didn't exactly inspire too much confidence this year.
He didn't play much.
But he played a lot better in the minor leagues.
Everybody has Groshans in some kind of trade, so
yeah, for Ramirez.
Yeah.
So
I also? Yeah, I want to even play a wild card here on this whole thing. As much as I really don't want to break this freaking thing, I always saw Lourdes Gurriel Jr. as a third baseman, even when I was playing him and watching him play in New Hampshire.
I see. Anybody even?
I see him more at first too, but he's always got that fucking thunderous arm.
Yeah, he does.
And clearly he's athletic enough to handle third base. When I was watching him in the minor leagues, he didn't scream shortstop to me. But maybe there's some weird shit like that going on that we have no idea going. You know what I mean? That's part of this whole thing to offset a position somewhere. But to that point, I agree with you, Chris, that one of those guys gets hurt, you're going to be in, up shit creek for one of those positions with a guy that's either a quadruple A player or literally a triple A player in those positions. God forbid we get Brevik Valeria playing freaking third base again or something like that.
No, he just signed in Korea or Japan.
Yeah, I'm just saying equivalent then.
Yeah.
But to that point, I think that regardless if they go out and get Freddie Freeman, they have to be ready to make another move, and I think that other move will come into trade.
You're all in at that point. You have to go out and get Jose Ramirez.
You have to.
Or somebody like that. Yeah.
And that would include, I would think, a Groshans, an outfielder, and probably one of the catchers not named Moreno. And which I'm fine with. And that's what I was going to. Yeah, I mean, maybe, but it's all fringe. I don't think it's going to be. I think those are the main pieces of the trade, right?
Do you think this puts smoke in the idea of them buying Chris Bryant out of the free agents market? They end up getting Freeman?
I think it'd be cheaper, right? Because you're not signing Bryant for more than like 2, maybe 3 years tops. I wouldn't feel comfortable going
he'll want more than that.
Then I don't want him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would. If any of the free agent infielders that are left, I feel you have your. And I'm not saying that this is the right move. I feel your best shot is Trevor Story. But I also think,
because he's getting very overlooked in this market. So that's the purchase item, right? Right now, we're already hearing that Carlos Correa is not getting really the demand that you were expecting. Because the Yankees are kind of sitting there going, "Nope, we're good." And the whole fiasco between them and the Astros, I wouldn't be paying for him either. I would go after Trevor Story if I were the Yankees.
So the reason why I bring
Chapman, but that's just me.
The reason why I bring this up is that if you trade if you rather acquire Freeman, right? And I'm not sure. I think obviously with Freeman, there's Canadian roots there, and I don't like tugging on those heartstrings because I know it's usually most of the time there's not a lot of smoke there. Maybe this is the exception, but people, when they assume there's a Canadian free agent, automatically going to the Jays. I don't think it really works like that.
People are still all hot and horny for Joey Votto, and he said that he's never coming here.
That creates the same problem too.
Yes. People have been waiting for, and Paxton as well, but to me it doesn't make sense. Now if you do acquire a Freddie Freeman and you want that left-handed lineup hit in your lineup, I think it serves well. Obviously he's a generational talent. Him being on the older side, if this is his last contract, and that's a legitimate all-in move for the Jays, right? And that's including like this future blockage there, right? And I think at that point you do trade for a Ramirez. I think you sort of have to, right? Yes. And that sort of thins out your outfield a bit because we're assuming it's going to include a Gurriel in there. So that means you have to keep Graychuk. You just have to. I don't think.
I think that gets done without Gurriel.
Yeah.
Prospect.
You just load it full of prospects. You need Gurriel in that lineup to complete it at that point.
You had the sneakiest
because you're not banking on any kind of pitching really.
Right.
Like you don't have a Shane Bieber, you don't have a Justin Verlander in his prime, you don't have a Max Scherzer, you have a bunch of number 2 guys. So you're literally going out there trying to spank the ball into oblivion every single night.
You're aiming
and God help this team if they go cold for a week.
It will happen.
It will happen.
It will happen.
It will be.
But if you keep Gurriel in that loop, having that much more talent will keep that from happening. How often there was that 1, 2, 3 week stretch there that unfortunately was kind of the season undoing for the Blue Jays. Outside of that, they were the gods of all offense in baseball. Mm-hmm. And if you're talking about dropping somebody like Freeman back into that equation or to the Jose Ramirez or whatever, you pick up right as business as usual from spring training.
Yeah.
Or you just go that ape shit and just go nuts.
So you would have Springer, Bichette. Fuck no, you wouldn't. You would have Oh my God, this is hurting my head.
Order doesn't matter at that point when you're that
No,
good.
okay, so
Great
you would have
bat here with Vlad batting
Springer.
third.
Yeah,
Vlad has to
Springer-
bat third.
Yeah, you would have Springer. Okay, so just for shits and giggles, because we can. Springer, Bichette, Guerrero, Freeman, Hernandez, Ramirez,
Probably. Yeah, there you go.
Gurriel.
That is
Who
stupid.
cares?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
last two doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah, what you're saying
Then-
is stupid.
Then
BA.
Moreno
Biggio.
and
Doesn't
Biggio
matter,
or
yeah.
Semien. Or,
Yeah.
I like
sorry, not
Biggio
Semien,
last.
Espinal.
I like Biggio last. Honestly, I do. I like to
I
have
do
that
too.
because I like him lead off, and if he's not going to hit lead off, I like him last.
Put him in the bottom of the order to get on base.
Yes.
Or George Springer and
Yeah,
all those
yes.
guys.
Flip it over.
Yes, and I like his
I think-
eye, right? And if you have him batting ninth at the 9 spot in a close game, like in the 9th inning, I
Drugs
trust
a
his
walk
eye.
For Springer.
Oh, he's got
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
probably has the best eye on the team. And I know I stroke it a lot with him, but I love
It's
his
not the
talent.
only thing you stroke with
Yeah,
him.
I love his talent. I kind of want to hold off on Kevin because I have a whole section waiting for him. But
Fuck, of course you do.
yeah, when it
So
comes,
I'll give you your segue then, Adam. The best
All right.
Blue Jays offense has Santiago Espinal and Kevin Biggio fighting it out for second base, and the other one being the first off the bench guy. That's
Yes.
what they are trying to shoot for with this team, and I think that's where they need to shoot for. Like I said, whoever these other two big bats they add to this lineup, I think their obvious targets are Freeman and Jose Ramirez, but there's some other guys out there too. That does push Biggio probably to be your everyday second baseman, with Espinal doing a similar role to what he did last year, spelling a guy at second, short, and third. And if something happens, he's good enough to take over the fact for somebody being injured.
I just think that's where we're at. I think to me that just makes the most sense. You know, I don't, at all disparage the talent that Espinal has shown, especially during dire times. Right, there were some rough
Right.
waters at third base last year, and Espinal held his own. There were some clutch hits that he actually made for this team that otherwise there were some clutch defensive
Catches.
plays that he made.
Yeah.
And
Bare
he was
hand.
fantastic at third, and that's why I'm not. I remember we were talking about this in like June.
Yeah.
I was saying he is the best third baseman on the team, and I don't
Oh,
even
yeah.
think it was
At the
close.
time, absolutely.
It's
Yeah.
still not even disputable, I think, even to this day.
Oh,
Right
yeah.
now,
Right.
as this team is constructed, he is the best third baseman on this roster.
I don't want
So-
him playing every day, but he's perfect in the Ezekiel Carrera role. That's exactly what we compared him to all
Yes.
year. He
Yeah,
will
there
get
you go.
exposed if he has 600 at bats, but if he has 250 to 400 max, then he's perfect in that role.
I still have
Yeah.
a feeling that there's something else in the tank there with him, though. There's another level that I think we saw a glimpse of, but I don't think his career peaks out at Zeke.
That's what I'm saying. I think Zeke, we knew what he was, and that was his ceiling. I don't even think we've hit Espinal's ceiling, and not
No,
that he's
not
going to be a game changer. He's certainly not, but I do think there's a little bit left in there that we can sort of blossom and discover. Which again, I'm fine with.
Every good team needs role players.
Exactly.
And
And he's
he
perfect. for
screams that guy. Yep.
If the Blue Jays do end up getting Ramirez, I think it fits like a glove having Cavan at second. Unless he's in the trade, I don't know that he would be. And if he is, if that's
He
the
has
chip that
no
needs to get
value.
it done, I don't think he doesn't have any value. I really
He has
don't.
no
Like,
value right now.
I mean, if we're just recency bias aside from last year and how he wasn't right, but I think savvy managers and savvy front office is playing out of position, right? And
Fits
with
the Billy
the
Beane principle if he gets on base.
yeah, with the exodus. So this is the next topics, right? So with the exit of Semien, people are saying like, oh, what are we gonna do? That leaves a gaping hole in second base, and that leaves this offense a little bit hurting. And while I can see the offense, and a lot of that can be mitigated with the addition of only Freeman or Ramirez, right? You
Yeah.
only need one of them, and if you get both, and fuck, man, you are the best team in the East. I don't even think it's debatable.
easy.
Then again,
You're
the
the
Rays.
best team in baseball at that point.
Yeah, but
Got
the
the
Rays.
rookies and the yeah.
Just never just count the Rays. But at that point, I don't think the defensive drop off is that stark. I mean, that's steep. I really don't. I with Cavan last year, he was a good soldier. He was playing so many positions other than the one that he's supposed to play. Right? They had him at third. It wasn't his primary position. Is probably like his. I don't know. I think his secondary position is probably the outfield, and then first base.
Then third
Like,
base.
yeah, and then third base would be his fourth position. It's good to have that versatility, and I know the Blue Jays love their Zobrist-esque versatility, but I just don't think you can force it on a player. And I think Cavan, when you have these mishaps in the infield and when you're uncomfortable in your position on the infield, that bleeds over to the offensive side. And remember, this is a player that when he came up and in some of the 2020 season, he was pretty good. Like, he wasn't great. He wasn't like all-star level. He wasn't a game changer. But like I said, that eye is fantastic. I love his approach. I just think he could be something special for this team. I don't think he's going to rise to the status of a Bo Bichette, but I do think he's overall a better player than Espinal. And I don't even think that's a hot take. And when you have him at second base, I think defensively, that shores up your infield, right? Even if you don't get a Ramirez, right? Even if you're just assuming Espinal as a full-time third base, and not an ideal situation, but it's not the worst thing ever. Bo at short, Cavan at first, Cavan at second, Vlad at first. I think that's okay. I don't think a lot of balls are getting by there. I really don't. I think defensively you're pretty set in the infield, and that's why I don't think this is such a huge drop-off with Semien gone. You love the bat, but I'm not paying Semien that money, especially when you're trying to compete with Texas, who doesn't have taxes, right? You're not paying a single dollar in taxes. So, Chris, let's start with you, man. Like, we sort of expulged on this already, but doesn't sound like you're the biggest believer in Cavan. But if we were in a position where we had to play him every day at second, do you like this team's chances that much less?
It's not that I don't like Cavan. I love what he brings to the team. He's a good team player. He's one of the good troops, right? He goes out there, does what he has to. But
he's a mercenary.
If this team is really serious about making that big push, he isn't on the field every day. He isn't. He's not good enough. He, in 3 years, what are his career totals are what? The 235 average for a guy that gets on base a lot? Like, that kind of leaves a lot to be desired for me.
Has he played a full season?
No.
He hasn't. Yeah, he hasn't. So
no, but what has shown that? What has he shown you to lead you to believe that he's more than, say, a 250 hitter?
That's fine with me. I don't need him to be more than a 250 hitter because you have almost 300 hitters up and down the board. You have Teoscar Hernandez, George Springer, Vladdy, and maybe Bo hitting close to 300. I don't need another one.
Why not?
I would love
this team. If this team is serious, you have to do better than Cavan Biggio being an everyday player. He's fine off the bench and he's fine playing all over the place when you need a guy, but you need somebody that's going to give you better defense and more consistency because you already have really streaky players on this team as well.
I just haven't seen anything that he's done at second base that screams bad defense or poor defense or even below average or average.
It's not great. Like, it's not fantastic. Okay, let me put it this way. We don't have any good infielders on this team other than Espinal.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I don't know. I mean, do you count Vlad? I mean, how much of an impact does Vladdy make at first base as like defending? Not receiving.
If you want,
wasn't a train wreck.
Yeah,
right.
He wasn't horrible. Yeah. He wasn't amazing. But if you want to look like deep dive into some of the analytical stuff, like they really shit on Vlad this year, and they weren't good to him. So if you believe in that instead of the eye test,
he's going to get better.
I believe a little bit of. You need a little bit of on both sides. Like there's value to the analytical side of things, but like, is he catching the ball or not? Like. You can see that with your eyes, right? To me, you need somebody to play really good defense, especially on the middle of the infield. And for Bo's lack of range or whatever is holding him back, Semien made up for that in the middle of the diamond last year. And Cavan Biggio will not make up for any of Bo's mistakes out there. Or shortcomings, or range, or anything. Yeah. He won't.
Yeah. I think the solution here, honestly, we were talking about Trevor Story. If they are able to sign Trevor Story and put him as just a 1 year, sort of like a Semien recreation, but obviously you're probably not going to get that sort of production. But if you do put him at shortstop and move a Bo to second where his range won't be that much. Cavan as a trade chip, just if you're saying he has no value, then as a throw-in, or maybe just want him as bench depth, then that solves a lot of issues too.
I'm perfectly fine using Biggio as bench depth,
Yeah.
and to get and use him at right field to give Teoscar a day off. Use him in left field to get Gurriel out of the game toward like. If it's a 3-2 game and you have the choice of Kevin Biggio in left field or Gurriel in left field, you're sure shit, I want Biggio out there. I want about 10 other people out there before him, but if he's your outfield option, I would rather Biggio out there than Gurriel because Gurriel scares crap out of me in left field. Like he has to have his arm because he's so bad
it's
out
the
there.
range. Yeah. The range is what saves him.
The most seamless way to replace Marcus Semien is trading for Jose Ramirez. You trade for Jose Ramirez, and you can be fine opening the season with Cavan and Espinal as the primary second base. But I also want to strengthen the bench in that case.
Or
and
Chapman.
One name that I think it was Ben Nicholson Smith was saying the other day got a lot of traction on the free agent market before it shut down was Josh Harrison, a guy who had 10 teams check in on him. If you get Ramirez and you open up the season with Cavan and Josh Harrison as your primary second baseman, you are good to go at that point. I mean, I don't want to get greedy and ask for Freddie Freeman too, but again, I might be teasing my Christmas wish list a little bit here, but Jose Ramirez he makes the most sense because he's on Jay's window is the next 2 to 3 years with everybody still under contract, not getting paid more before they have to start selling people off. So it just makes too much sense. And Biggio, at that case, is fine to open up at second base.
Harrison can also play all over the field too.
Yeah,
outfield too.
Yeah,
crazy weird utility. But to that point, Josh Harrison's basically one of the best second basemen left on the free agent market. So you're not getting, unless you do something like you said with the Trevor Story thing and move him around or Bo around or whatever, you're not getting a second baseman. You're talking Donovan Solano right now is the next best ranked guy based on WAR, then Josh Harrison, then Jed Lowry. It falls off pretty quick. Or you're going into the point where we're going to have to get freaking, Jonathan Villar.
Oh, man.
It's pretty damn rough on that free agent market.
I mean, I don't see that.
Josh Harrison is making me excited now.
Jonathan,
No.
Yeah.
Drooling slightly.
More like Bonifacio excited.
God, I'm not excited.
Ouch.
To that point,
sorry.
Like we were saying, it's still cram the two guys at second base and hope for the best. And something else has got to happen around the diamond with this team.
But even given the current situation, I don't even think it's that bad. I mean, like, I think this team, you had Semien, but, if I'm assuming they signed Freeman, I still think this is a 90-plus win team with a full year of George Springer.
Oh, easily. Yes.
Assuming they don't sign Freeman, though, is this team better than they were at the end of last year?
No.
I still think they're a 90-win team.
They were only a 91-win team with Robbie Ray being a Cy Young and Marcus Semien being a number 3 MVP.
And without a full year of George Springer. Like, a lot of that is mitigated if you get a full year of George Springer.
Springer will add at least 4 wins to his WAR, whatever his total was, at least. And Semien was almost 8? So you got to replace another 4 wins. That comes somewhere. But no, if you don't get Freeman and you don't get Jose Ramirez and you only have marginal upgrades like a Kyle Seager, as an example, it's not good enough. The team needs either a legit second or third baseman going into spring training. That's why we saw them make a very, very, very big run and serious run at Seager, as you brought up, Chris.
Can I be this guy? Kevin Biggio, Bo Bichette, Vlad Jr. all came up in the Blue Jays minor league system together. There was nobody screaming of horrible defense up the middle with Biggio and Bichette in that equation throughout his minor league career, other than the fact that a lot of people are saying that Bo Bichette might not stick at that position full time for his whole career, right? You look at what everybody forgets that in that same year in 2018, all 3 of those guys are on the freaking New Hampshire Fisher Cats. Kevin Biggio was the MVP of the Eastern League that year. Just saying.
The year they won, right?
That was the year they won, correct?
Yeah.
And that was the year after they won in Dunedin, and it was going to be this dynasty in the coming. And we thought that was going to be the first real Buffalo team to win anything.
Right.
So they came up. But to that point, I think this is actually the sample size of what his normal would be in the major leagues. If you look at his 2018 numbers on that team, and you can see it was starting to translate in 2019 in 100 games. Plays in 132 games with the Fisher Cats, hits 26 home runs, just misses 100 RBIs. That's 250. But base at a ridiculous clip and also had 100 walks. So, meanwhile, you go flash forward to 2019, where obviously the team was, how can I say it, garbage. 2019, he gets into 100 games, bats 234 with 16 home runs and 48 RBIs. I was trending in that direction of that stat line. And that was after a clear learning period in 2019. If he can get over that hurdle, I don't see any reason why he's not a guy that bats 250 with 20 home runs and somewhere in the 70 ballpark. He's going to look like the, not as shitty version of offensive Randall Grichuk that we get every year. Bats 250 with 20 home runs and 60, 70 RBIs.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that being my 8 or 9 hole in my lineup right now, if the way this is constructed is my personal belief.
Just hope he learns how to hit the high fastball. That's all I'll say.
I tend to agree with you, or stop swinging at it, one or the other.
That too. He's got to adjust. They adjusted to him in 2020 and whenever he played this year, and it wasn't pretty. But there's something in there. It's not as bad as it's been, but it's also not. I don't know if he'll ever get an all-star appearance, but he could be solid.
Yeah, and that's all I really care about. That's all I really want from him, right? So I'm looking at his baseball reference page. I didn't even know this. I should be bragging about this more often. He was 5th in Rookie of the Year voting in 2019. Didn't know that until right now.
Really?
So
just because of the home runs.
Yeah, and then in 2020 with the shortened season, he still had a pretty good line. Although I don't like to extrapolate much from 2020. Look
that was
at
a
Rowdy
pretty good
Tellez.
class he was in too.
Yeah, although Rowdy Tellez.
Jordan Alvarez wins the Rookie of the Year. John Means, Brandon Lau, and then Eloy Jimenez were the 4 guys above him. So slightly, there you go.
Yeah, and look, I'm not saying he's the future, but there's something there. There had been something there before, and of course, busts are a thing. And I wouldn't even call Cavan a bust, really, because I don't even think he was super high touted, and we're not investing the entire future into Cavan Biggio. We're really not.
He was always the lost guy out of that.
Yeah, well, yeah. Of course I am. But no, he's my binky. I have a hard time letting go, and I don't think I'd like to give him more opportunities. I think last year was an unfair year to evaluate him and his place on this team. He was playing out of position. He was hurt a lot, and the confidence obviously wasn't there at the plate as a result of what was going on in the field. So I want to give him. To me, it's sort of like what I was saying about Vladdy this time last year. With Vladdy, before knowing that he was going to be a full-time first baseman, I said, you have to earn your spot at third, right? Because he was losing all this weight. He was trying to get in shape. He was trying to, rebound his, young career that it was at the time. And he most certainly did. But at the time, I said, you have to earn it. This is not going to just be handed to you at third base. You have to earn it. That's exactly how I feel about Cavan. You have to earn it. You have to earn that second base position. And if you can show enough during spring training, if you can show enough that you're, healed from all your injuries, you're not injury prone, because kind of is injury prone. But if you can prove that you're good to go and you have the longevity and the durability to play the position adequately at an above average rate, which he sort of did in 2020, I don't see an issue. Especially if he's your 9-hitter batting 250, you could do a lot worse with your 9-hitter batting 250. And batting average is even
Pena made a good career out of that whole 250 thing.
Yeah. And especially, would you say, Craig, 20 bombs? Like, that is more than I would expect from a Cavan Biggio.
Like I said, you're going to be he's going to look on paper like Randall Grichuk, and I don't think he's going to get as much shit as Randall Grichuk. You know what I mean?
Just because,
correct. And he doesn't swing at every ball that hits in front of the plate. It's just. I think his batting average is that's the normal, and if he can figure out, like you said, the piece of the high bit fastball and taking that next piece of, he's going to see good pitches. He's got to figure out what to do with them. When is where I think his biggest problem is right now. If you're going to get the good fastball, like you said, you got to be able to hit it at the end of the day, and I think that's the next piece of his game that he has to worry about here, other than the fact that obviously we need to, make sure he is defensively sound at second base. But he strikes me as one of those guys, once he actually has a home, he's going to be an above average player. He's not going to be a crazy player, but he's going to be a guy that's, hanging around the 2-3 WAR area like we were talking about last week on some of these guys.
Adam, you got Ross Atkins on your side. Just take that away.
That's true. All right. Let's stop stroking Kevin here and let's get into the
Can't
to
tell
the
the host
Christmas
led us
wish
that
list.
way.
Yeah, had to. I need to say it with my entire chest. Okay, here's the deal. We are each going to give 2 wishes, unless there's a repeat. Then we're going to try our damnedest to think of a new one. So, like I said initially, baseball activities, baseball resuming. That's on the top of everybody's wish list. It's ubiquitous. We do not have to cover that. We all wish for it to happen. I think it will.
We got to think of another one.
Yeah. That being said, again, 2 wishes per person. I'd like to go in this order to begin with: Chris, Brendan, Craig, myself, and then we'll go reverse: myself, Craig, Brendan, Chris. So
when do we do the draft for the order? Did you just pick it randomly? How do you?
I just picked it randomly.
Back.
Well,
he feels bad
first.
because we've been bickering at each other all night.
Chris is first because he held it down for the past 3 months, so he's first. And B comes before C, and I'm just always last. So that's just how I, rationalized it in my mind. So Chris, take it away. What is your first wish to Santa for the Blue Jays for the 2022 season?
Okay, it may be, I don't know, this might be disallowed, it may not.
You can say anything you want.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. My first wish is that I want this team, or Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro, to be a whole hell of a lot better than Kyle Schwarber and Kyle Seager.
That's not a lot.
As their left-handed bat. It's a 1A, 1B.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about Kyle Seager's defense, but the guy can't hit. Like, he can hit home runs, but like, we can hit more than enough home runs on this team. Like, we don't need Jose Canseco out there. We need somebody that can actually catch the damn ball. Because we saw what an actual bat and glove, like a Jose Ramirez, like, we need I don't want to say we need the reincarnation of Josh Donaldson, but like, that would be pretty damn nice right now. We can't afford one-sided players, I don't think, whether they're good on one side or not. And neither of them do anything particularly well other than hit home runs. And like I said, we have more than a guys to provide the Thunder. We need guys to get on base. Maybe that is Kevin Biggio. But I don't think there's been some more than rumors, I guess, going around, or lots of talk circulating around Blue Jays Twitter, at least, about Schwarber and about Kyle Seager, especially, that I think that they can do a whole hell of a lot better than both of those guys, because yes, they hit the ball hard and whatever. And like, if you look back at some of their career numbers, especially Schwarber, and I guess Seager for the last 3-4 years, like, they don't really get on base a whole hell of a lot. I guess that's still 2020 for Seager, where he had a 355 OBP. But yeah, I for all of the kind of smoke that's going around with these guys, I think you can do a whole hell of a lot better.
You definitely do better. You done?
Yeah.
That was it. I don't. Other than that, like, I just don't want anything to do with either of those guys.
Yeah. It would be disappointing if they went into the season with either of them. That's for sure.
Like, you could say that these guys, and you could say that these guys, oh, they hit the whole ball hard and they're unlucky. Like, their career numbers don't suggest that they've been unlucky. Like, over 5 years for Kyle Schwarber, or 7 years, and he's hit over 250 once in his career, and it was this past year.
Yeah.
So,
all right, I tease mine. My first wish from Santa is Jose Ramirez, because it just makes too much sense. Like, and look, I was right last year. I got my Christmas wish list and George Springer coming, and it worked. So maybe I'll start talking it into existence in this show from here
and
on.
the year before with Ryu.
Positive
Oh yeah,
thinking.
that's true. That's very true.
Positive.
So here we go. I'm gonna go 3 for 3 in terms of players that I asked for from Santa Claus. I mean, for all the reasons we talked about, it just makes too much sense. You have him for 2 more years. I know that he's not as impactful as it was, but personally, I believe the Blue Jays believe their best window is in the next 2 years because you still have Ryu for another 2 years. You have Gosman, you have Jose Barrios, you have others, Alek Manoah in the rotation. So there's 4 that are guaranteed, barring injury, for the next 2 seasons. You have a couple bullpen arms that are going to be around for at least the next 2 seasons, and Adam Simber, and I think Trevor Richards too. I could be wrong about his control, but it's all in place. And Jose Ramirez just makes too much sense, and he's dirt cheap, so that does not have to stop you from making another splash. Whether that's in the outfield, whether it's making a trade for another starter, it just opens up so much. And honestly, I'm willing to give Cleveland almost anything for Jose Ramirez to get it done because I think he will help them A, win the division if they get him, and B, make a deep playoff run at that point. And he's done it with Cleveland multiple times, and he's still a damn good player. So honestly, name your price and bring me Jose Ramirez, and I will be if that's the case.
What would be
Okay,
the
so-
most you would pay? Like, what is the cutoff? Who's the untouchable in this situation? Because we traded Austin Martin and we got Barrios and we got him actually on the extension, or the re-signing. But barring that, I don't know that there's anybody in this.
Moreno's the only one right now.
Moreno, yeah, but even
A lot of people are saying Elvis is untouchable
Elvis
as well.
too isn't too far behind. That's for sure. I'm just going through now just to take a look. Like, I mean, just on the pitching side of things, I know that they gave away SWR. There's a couple interesting names there. Look, I still think that Adam Kloffenstein could be a trade chip. I know that he's huge there, but the way the end of the season, and Chris, I think you sent this to Craig and I after one episode, one of the At the Letters, and how highly Atkins talked about Gunnar Hoagland, the first rounder that they got this year. In my mind, his emergence forward, you still have CJ Van Eyck and others that you drafted that they're also high on. I think Kloffenstein could be a part of a trade.
They're talking Hoagland could be up this year.
Yeah, absolutely. He's older too. He fell to them because he got hurt. And so you add him into the system. I look at Gunnar Hoagland as a guy that is kind of like SWR in the fact that it's kind of like found money. SWR was found money and you used him as a trade chip. Now you have Hoagland, you can free up somebody else to go and trade. So Kloffenstein I'd throw in there. Groshans isn't off the table for me in that Jose Ramirez trade. Anything to try to not give Lourdes. If push comes to shove and the prospect capital is a little lower and Lourdes is still involved, do it to get Jose Ramirez because you can still bring in another outfielder to get the same value. Plus, Lourdes is going to be a free agent in a couple of years. Yeah. Are we going to bring him back? Are we going to bring Teoscar back on a long-term deal? One of those guys might not be able to be here past, 2023 for Lourdes? So give him to Cleveland. They could sign him to a long-term deal and lower your prospect capital on that point. But, yeah. I don't know.
2020.
Would you rather include
a free agent, right?
Yeah. Would you rather include Gurriel or Pearson?
Pearson.
Yeah,
Hell no.
I'd probably go Pearson. But there's a good argument for either. Like I think like even just last week, weren't we saying that we want Nate Pearson to be that 2-inning lockdown closer of the backup?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So like it's tough.
The bullpen's too shaky at this point. You can afford to give up Gurriel before you can give up Pearson.
I think now that you say that, I think I agree with you, Chris. I would,
I'm not advocating getting rid of Gurriel by any means because of reasons I said earlier tonight.
For sure.
But you have an embarrassment of riches, especially with Jose Ramirez coming in. And there's probably going to be another throw-in player there as well from Cleveland, I would imagine, that you might be able to have a bench piece or something come along with that, or maybe another reliever. But
it's not off the table that you could maybe up the price a little bit more and get one of their starters too, like Zach Plesac, somebody else like that to fill in the 5th spot. That makes too much sense. And they've already started the dialogue. Like At the Letters was saying that they talked to Cleveland at the trade deadline to trade for Jose Ramirez and just didn't get far enough before the deadline. So,
and they talked to them about Lindor.
Yeah, exactly. So they know the system. Cleveland would know what they want. It's just a matter if the Jays want to pull the plug at this point, I guess.
Yeah.
And they should.
Craig, did
you
want to add anything? Yeah, go ahead. You're up.
I got nothing to add.
All right.
So I'm going to take Brendan's idea here, and I'm going to run with another third baseman here. I don't think that it will take as much to get him, but I love him, and I think he's one of those guys that will solidify the defensive part and have enough at the bat I want Matt Chapman, and the A's are
that's a good
bleeding
one.
people right now. And I really think I could give up one good prospect to the Oakland A's and a couple throw-in guys, or an Espinal, Biggio, Grichuk, whoever it might be, if I'm eating Grichuk's money in the midst of that piece, right?
Brad Lordy
The
up
A's
to
are-
these days.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Something about Matt Chapman's game screams Donaldson 2.0 to me.
Yeah.
And to that fact, he's only been in the majors for 5 years, but he's won 3 Gold Gloves already. 2 of those years he was in the top 10 in MVP races. I know he had a shit year this past year at the plate. He just didn't look like he was comfortable. Maybe he was fighting a nagging injury, whatever it might be, but he still manages to hit 27 bombs and 72 RBIs batting in the 6 hole in that Oakland lineup. So to that point, I think you're ended up trading somebody like Groshans as the main centerpiece to that, or someone around that level. Well, who cares? I'm going to get Matt Chapman for 2 seasons because he's signed up for this year already, and then he's got his 3rd arbitration stint the following season. So you'd get him for 2 seasons. And I think he's still the good side of 30, or he's going to be, he's 28. So, and I think that he would be that added piece in that lineup that you would be able to throw into the current lineup of what we have going on, other than moving somebody, maybe Lourdes up to the 2 hole or something like that, just to keep things moving, right? Because now we don't have Semyon in that spot. But when you throw Matt Chapman behind Gurriel in that lineup, it's the same. I think you're getting mathematically the same offense, because I think in the American League East, he's going to bat closer to 260, 270 with his career averages around 250, I believe. Yeah, 243. But like I said, the guy can rake. And the fact that if we're questioning Bo Bichette's defense on that side of the infield, this is the guy you plug in, and it's ready-made. The glove is insane. And like I said, he's going to find a way to hit well. I just think his move for the Blue Jays, because like I said, you don't have to wager the whole future to it. You're still getting something pretty damn good in return. But in the midst of that, you're not losing Lourdes Gurriel Jr. You're not losing maybe a Kevin Biggio to be on your bench. And maybe you can even talk them into, depending on what you are getting back or giving to the A's, talk them into somebody like Tony Kemp with that trade. The guy's plays every position, and he just came off a season where 89 games as second baseman for the Oakland A's because Jed Lowry couldn't stay on the field. So it's another guy to throw into that equation. I just think there's enough to that there's some smoke to that, and the fact that the A's are in a fire sale at this point, trying to regain that prospect capital they forfeited the last 2-3 seasons.
Tony Kemp might be the better part of that trade, to be honest.
Yeah.
That kid's got some insane athleticism, and I love the tools. I love what he could do. He just screams to me that he's going to be Dalton Pompey, unfortunately. Like, he's going to do really, really good. He's going to be always that guy that you're expecting to do well, and he's not going to quite do anything but be a bench player. I really hope that he doesn't have that problem, but as a guy that used to love watching Dalton Pompey in the minors and wishes that translated better.
Yeah.
But
Biggest
those
claim to
tools
fame
are
is
there.
being 90 feet away.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. At least
we
he's
all
got that.
know. Yeah, we all know the history of Blue Jays trading with the A's for third baseman. So
It works well.
Please.
yeah, I'm for it. I think it obviously. I think you already mentioned this, Craig. It'd be a lot cheaper, in terms of prospect capital. And the A's value prospects in weird ways. So there might be like some obscure prospect that you're not really high on, or rather the organization isn't really high on, that the A's would be, and Atkins would be like, sure,
Okay,
yeah,
sure, have fun.
like, absolutely.
They'd be
Yeah, I
open
didn't
to taking-
realize.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Craig.
I didn't realize that two of those 3 Gold Gloves that he got are also platinum Gold Gloves.
Yeah,
So
he's
he was the
great
best
defensively.
defensive player.
Oakland screams to me they're going into a longer rebuild than Cleveland, so they would be fine with prospects that are further away from getting to the major leagues if they have a high ceiling. So that the prospect capital may not look so bad for Matt Chapman. It could end up being really, really good. But yeah, if you trade with Cleveland, as an example, they have the pitching to be able to turn it around somewhat quickly if you get a couple good bats in there, because that division, I mean, it's still not the greatest. It's okay. White Sox are going to be good, but after that, it's open for anybody to be able to get hot and maybe even get a wild card spot. So, yeah, trading with Oakland, Craig, absolutely, because they probably will take some prospects that are a little further away than Cleveland would.
All right. So my first wish is about the rotation. I think last week we covered that Barrios would be the number one, right? And then we said Gosman would be the number 2, and then Ryu the number 3, just to be able to have Alek Manoah as the 4 to pitch an opening day in Toronto. And then the 5 is a big question mark. Now, the 5 doesn't have to be this lights out guy, just really supposed to provide you maybe 5 innings. And the expectations aren't that high, but maybe you can do a little better than Stripling right now, right? So my wish, I know he's 38, but give me Zach Greinke for a year.
That'd be fun.
That would be
I-
fun for 5 spot.
I think Zach Greinke can
That
still
was
go.
not anywhere I thought you were going with that.
Same, but I like-
Not anywhere close.
Give me Zach Greinke for a year or 2. If it takes a second year, I know he's 38, but if it takes a second year to get it done, fine. He could maybe.
Who cares?
He might be better than Ryu. Maybe. Like
I would say at least on that point they're in that same conversation of where they are in their careers right now.
Yeah. I don't know that that's really that much of a hot take. And if he is just your 5th starter, I think he could probably give you more than 5, like on average. And I think that would really solidify this rotation. I think if you have Greinke at the back end of your rotation, like on paper, your weakest link, just on paper, just namesake alone, your weakest link, quote unquote, is Manoah. And I don't even think he's weak. It's just like he still has some work to do. He has to discover himself, right? Whereas I think it will end up being probably someone like Ryu or maybe even Greinke is the weakest link. But I'd rather have Greinke right now than Stripling. And I don't even think it's going to cost you that much. Like if you can get him 2 years, 15, 16. What's the most you'd pay for a Greinke for 2 years? 17? I don't even think that's that much.
I think
He's
it'd
not
be
getting
20.
qualifying.
Yeah, I think it'd be 20 a year.
Fine.
Yeah.
20. Wait, 20 a year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, then I'll give him 1 year 20. Fuck it.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I'm fine
And
with
to
that.
that point,
Hey,
that might be
blow
a
it
point
all
of
your
career
eggs into these next 2 years. Pay him what he
Like
wants.
if Syndergaard and Verlander both got what they got, and Greinke actually went out there and threw 171 innings last year, he's going to get 20 million a year.
Yeah, Syndergaard got what, almost 20? And he barely
He,
pitched.
he did get 20, and apparently the Jays were like right on the cusp of
right there.
getting him to you. But like,
They were a phone call
look
away.
at Greinke's page, and like from 2013 to 2019,
He's crazy.
ridiculous.
Yeah, he's so
That's what I'm
good.
saying.
He was
That's
so
what I'm saying.
good.
He'll have some duds mixed in now, but man, he's crafty. Him and Ryu can be the crafty guys in the back end of the rotation. That's totally good with me.
That's what I'm saying.
You
right?
split those guys up in between the hurlers, and like I think Greinke can still rear back and chuck it though, as well. Like his velocity hasn't dropped off that much, has it?
I
think
checked
he's
these.
Yeah, I think he's at 90 basically last I recall. But to that point,
90?
we've
If
had
he's only throwing 90, I don't want any fucking part of him.
As your
he's one of those
5?
guys.
No. For $20 million in the 5 spot, and he's only throwing 90? No thanks.
But that's already Ryu.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
maybe
We already have one of those guys. We already have one of those guys.
I want to say it
You'd
was
rather-
90 topped out.
I think I'd rather that than Stripling.
Well,
You see, somebody knows how to say it. Get somebody out is my biggest thing there.
I would rather use that $20 million for somebody else.
Oh yeah. But I'm just saying, if it's just money and the Blue Jays are like, fuck it, let's just win. Like, it's not my money. You're not giving up prospect capital at that point.
Think
Like,
where I get worried is I think he would struggle really, really hard in the AL East.
yeah.
Throwing only 90.
But to
The
that,
Yankees
really
and Red
expensive.
Sox will catch on to him.
Yeah, to that point, you'd have a really expensive 5th starter.
Yeah.
And a guy that's throwing around a 4 ERA. Is that the worst thing in the world? Most guys that come out of the minor leagues are going to throw gas, but may not be able to hit the plate. They have a 5 ERA.
Nate Pearson.
Yeah. Fangraphs him as a projected WAR of almost 1.9.
Oh, that's fine with
Does
me.
it say his speeds?
Sign me up.
Yeah. And
It's
that's
It's
I
not,
feel like
risky.
he was only
It's
throwing,
risky.
92
It's
at the most.
risky. I see the value of having him in your rotation, but like that, if he threw like 93 and touched 94 sometimes, I'd be all on board. But like 90 scares me because now we're another year behind. Like, is he only going to throw 88 this year?
As long as he
oh,
gets
bring back
guys
the
out.
sticky stuff. Bring back the sticky stuff.
That's a really big risk for $20 million. So that kind of scares me.
I don't know. I mean, the price tag is high. The
It's
price
interesting.
tag is high. I just don't know that it would cost 20. I don't
If
know
it
that it
doesn't
would.
cost, if it doesn't cost you 20, say it costs anything like 18 and under.
Then
Okay.
you're good with that. Yeah.
Okay. But I
MLB
think
Trade
for
Rumors
him,
usually has like projections, right?
Yeah. What did
Yeah.
they project him at?
but for
Let me
him
see.
to come up, here,
Also, is he vaccinated? That's also a very, very good question that you got to ask free agents when they
Yeah.
consider. I think he is, because there's only a couple that I saw that are not. John Becker from Fangraphs posted this as potential targets who are not. There's a couple decent names, but I don't think Greinke was on that list, so I think he is. Remember,
So
it's after
he's not
January
expected to
15th.
re-sign with the Astros. That's the last thing I have of him. I don't have.
he was on the MLB Trade Rumors. I'm going through it right now. I'll find out
Yeah.
for you if you want to continue.
Yeah, good. Sorry, Brendan. I cut you off.
No, all good. All I was going to say is, yeah, that's an important consideration moving forward is players will need to be vaccinated or they can't come into Canada after January 15.
Yeah.
What a home field advantage that's going to be.
I know. It'll be interesting to see how they work that out with the players union and stuff. But hey, I mean, that's country rules at that point.
The players union has no say over any of it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, just get your players vaccinated, talk to them, and do that. But yeah, that's Jeff Blair. I was going back and forth with John Becker and somebody else chimed in the conversation. Jeff Blair did basically say out on radio that Robbie Ray and Steven Matz both were not vaccinated, and that was huge in Matz deciding not to come back.
Oh, Robbie Ray was not?
No.
Oh, maybe that's why they didn't pursue him that hard.
Yeah. I think they pursued him, but again, like that's exactly
That
it.
was a lingering effect, right?
Yeah,
Greinke is projected to get 1 year, 15.
Yeah,
Wow.
I'm down.
Oh, yeah, hell yeah.
Okay, do it.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, next.
So
what is
it's
your next?
me again. So I'm gonna go back into the stocking, pull out from last year. Please give me 6:30 start times again, please. I love those 6:30 start times. Game ends around 9:15, 9:30, the latest. Gives me about a half hour to chill before I'm sacked out cold at 10 o'clock. Give me 6:30 start times again, please, and thank you. We don't have to go any further.
So
The
it's
only
not
thing
just
I'll
like,
say-
You have not seen the gardener at that time, have you?
I don't have to.
It will never ever happen.
And they
And
published
that
their
time
start
frame.
times, Adam. So if you want a different wish, you could take a different wish because the start times for the Blue Jays are published.
Oh, is
I
it
mean, they could
7:30?
change. They could change.
7:07. 7:07 again.
7:07, 3:07 on Saturdays.
All right. If Romano doesn't make a recovery or if his injury problems linger, because I know he just had surgery and he's sort of rehabbing right now on his own, give me Nate Pearson at the closing spot. That's what I want. I think he's going to fit well there. I think he'd be fine, assuming he's not traded. Nate Pearson as a closer, I think, has some value. He throws gas. Just got to work on the control. Got to stay healthy. If he can do that, I like him. I like him there. So I don't want to see him as a star. I think that ship sailed.
I think I agree with you.
I think that's his last opportunity at being a starter this spring. Really think it's going to be it.
Yeah, he'll go into spring with a chance to win a job in the rotation, but the lease will be very short for him to win a job in the rotation.
All right. So next is Craig. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to continue going off of the free agent wire here, like Adam just started. And I want to see the Blue Jays reinvest in Blue Jay culture at the ballpark a little bit. Fans haven't been in the arena until what? August last year is when they finally returned home. give something back to the fans, other than the fact that something tangible where they're putting obviously a winning team together. Give us some, they've been talking about a lot about renovating the ballpark lately. We've always been a big advocate on this show for like just having something like a World Series freaking trophy with somebody, take a statue of Joe Carter running around the bases, stupid things like that. Just find a way to reestablish that connection with the fans after everybody's been obviously stuck in their houses watching baseball for the last 2 years almost. And I think there's some value in that. Not, you have that chance to rebrand the Toronto Blue Jays as Canada's team and give back to the fans a little bit that helps support this team through all of the fun. So
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
It's long over.
Yeah. And this sort of extends to we can talk about this more next week or the week after or whatever. But Brendan, you sent us a link about they're doing upgrades at the Rogers Center. So hopefully those upgrades include things that are more fan centric, things like that. I mean, just to make it a little bit more fun. Not that I go very infrequently being on the opposite side of the border, but when I go there, it is a treat. So I can imagine people that go there often, such as Chris and Brendan. It can get boring. So good call there, Craig.
It's just as much as capitalizing on the talent that they do have. They have one of the youngest fun watching baseball teams in all of baseball. And I remember before, exactly, before all this stuff happened, especially down here, even at the minor league level, they had nights where they had, like this time of year, me and my dad actually were going to a Buffalo event with a minor league player. These are the guys that are coming through Buffalo this year. And that's actually where I met Vlad, Bo, and Biggio. I got all their autographs on a Lansing Lugnuts hat. I thought that was pretty cool. But just stupid things like that. Yeah, I know it doesn't have to be meet and greets and things like that, but some way just to suck the fans back into it and get that reestablish that investment of, hey, you're not just stuck at home anymore, assuming there's not Omicron doom heading on here and all that good stuff. But I do think that with vaccines being what they are and everything like that come this season, regardless of everything else that's going on, that baseball is going to feel more normal in Toronto. And I look forward to being at the ballpark myself and just like everybody else. So if there's anything they can do to, help draw the fans back, that's what I think they need to reinvest in.
Yeah.
100%. So yeah, my Christmas present from Santa was Jose Ramirez. My stocking stuffers, my appetizers are load up on the bullpen arms. Don't leave yourself exposed like you did this past season. And I'm not saying they didn't do a good job of adding depth. I think that they just were hit by such a rash of injuries that it looked like they weren't prepared for a rash of injuries. I don't care how many arms you got to do. There's still a ton of quality bullpen on the market right now, and obviously they can't sign anywhere, so that market will move very fast. Let's just say the CBA is agreed upon late January, right around that soft February 1st deadline, like we said last week. Spring training is only a couple weeks after that. Bullpen arms are going to fly off the shelf really, really quick, and bullpen arms that linger a little bit longer into March will then be a little more up to take minor league deals. Load up on the minor league deals with invites to spring training. Sign a couple more guys for the active roster. I already feel really good about the bullpen the way it is right now and the way it's shaping up with Richards and Simber, as we've talked about the last couple shows. But try not to leave yourself exposed. And again, I don't care how many it takes. Just load up, because I do not want to look back on the season and think they missed the playoffs because of all those bullpen meltdowns. It happens to every team. It's never going to stop. There's always going to be bullpen meltdowns throughout the course of a season, but limiting those bullpen meltdowns to, I don't know, cutting those down by 10 or in half from what it was this season, they would have been close to a 100-win team if you had that bullpen a little more solid. So those are my stocking stuffers. I don't care who it is. Just bring some guys in who can get outs and be better than the shit they have.
At least 2022.
Yeah.
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 I have one exception to your reliever list. If they sign a Drawless Chapman for any reason, I'm gonna puke. I'm not even. That's full on puke.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's not a free agent, is he?
No,
he is, I believe, in the area. He's open market or something. I heard something. He's acquirable.
No. There's no way the Yankees give him up.
Well, right now they're trying to bleed out money.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I read it earlier. I'll see if I can find it and send it to you.
Yeah, that's my stocking stuffer.
All right. Chris?
Okay, so my last one, it's pretty simple, pretty easy, and there's a couple of pieces to it, but it's just shore up the pitching staff. Go get me Kikuchi, go get me Tepera,
Yeah.
and then make sure that Pearson does not see a first, second, or third inning this year. Put him in the back end of that bullpen, and as my friend Wes Grove likes to say, let freaks be freaks, and just tell him to rear back and throw it as hard as he goddamn can.
104.
And 104, 105s. Hell, if he wants to hit 110, let him hit 110. Like, just blow it by, guys. Don't worry. Like, when you're throwing 104, don't worry about any other pitches. Just rear back and huck it.
Does he scream Rick Vaughn to you if he's coming out in the 9th inning and throwing 105?
No, I have more confidence in Pearson. I have a lot more confidence in Pearson pitching late in a ball game than I do a lot of other guys on this team.
And it's based on stuff, I'm assuming.
It's stuff, but like if he goes to like his slider and fastball, and like don't even worry about the slider, just throw it 104 because if you're facing teams like Baltimore, those guys aren't going to turn around on 104.
No.
Like, they're just not good enough. Sorry, those teams aren't good enough. Throw it a million miles an hour, blow it by them.
Imagine his control was just even this much better. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
It will be, though, if he's only worrying about one or two pitches.
Be like Ken Giles and throw a fastball slider combination, and you could have a very, very good career in the back end of a bullpen.
Okay, well, and I know that Romano was hurt this year, but what did Romano ditched his slider for a while? And all he threw was a fastball. And, like, look at the results he still had. He just threw it 100 miles an hour. Like, that's, even for the best players in the world, that's still freaking hard to do. Is turn around on a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and you don't know where it's going. Hell, Pearson might not even know where it's going, but, like, that's half the fun in it as well. But, yeah, go get me Kikuchi. Yeah. Go get me Kikuchi. Go get me Tepera. Shore up the pitching staff. And then you guys can sprinkle on your Ramirez and Freeman, and the world will be good.
That's all. It's all window dressing.
Good.
Yeah.
Go.
I just think that, if you do to harp on Pearson again in the back, like how much, I mean, the velocity I think is going to be a lot higher than what Romano can give you. And it wouldn't shock me if in the beginning it's more of a Pearson as a setup guy and then Romano closing out games. But it wouldn't shock me if as the year goes on, it sort of flips. Right.
I don't think it matters.
At that point, no.
Yeah. You have a 1A and a 1B, and whoever you need to get, like, whoever's throwing better at the time, you're going to get me the crucial out or get through the crucial part of the lineup, and then whoever's left is going to throw the ninth.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and I
Pearson
think that's
can be
fine.
what Dolis was supposed to be. Like, at that point.
To Charlie's credit, he started to manage like that a little bit as the season went along, where he would bring in Romano and other guys in the 7th inning if there was like bases loaded, 1 out, you need to get there, and then he used his second best reliever to close out the game. So keep doing that. It's like that's the way the bullpen management's going.
I just don't want the whole. I know Alek Manoah got a lot of attention because that's sort of not that he wasn't on the radar of people that are like diehard fans of the Blue Jays, but we were all assuming it was Pearson first. Right. We were all assuming that Pearson was going to take the leap to the rotation and become a mainstay before Manoah did. And it didn't work out that way. So I think maybe there was a little bit, I don't want to say jealousy. Obviously, there's competitiveness. But yeah, I'd rather be more competitive than jealous. But if
chip on the shoulder.
If he wants to have a role, it doesn't have to be a starter. And you know what? If he's not a starter, given the injury concerns that we have for Nate Pearson, if he does figure it out as a setup guy or, just as a closer, there's longevity there. Like, I know you're blowing your arm out quicker, but I mean, if the starting rotation is filled out and 4/5 of it are, and if you get a Greinke or whatever to finish it out, that takes a lot of pressure off of what you're supposed to be, right? Or what you were brought up to be in the organization. And if you can just throw max 20 pitches in a game, and hopefully it doesn't have to even be that much if you're throwing gas. But if you're just throwing like 20 25 pitches and close out games or whatever, you can do that for a long period of time. And I know they don't like to do back-to-backs, but if you're in an all-in situation right now, fuck all that. You have to just all the rules are thrown out the window again. All hands on deck. Let me see it. And you add in these other arms that could solidify the bullpen, because I know last year it was a disaster, and people were talking about how like, oh, Charlie Montoyo making terrible bullpen position. Any decision that he made would be a terrible bullpen decision. That wasn't Romano for a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you, Chris. Just get these arms and don't make it we'll figure that out later. That needs to be prioritized just as much as it has to be a conglomerate of things all at once.
I still think we're going to see Nate Pearson get 2 or 3 inning saves this year. That's not going to surprise me at all.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
All right. That's going to wrap it up today. Before we go, I would just like to wish everybody a happy holiday, whatever holiday you celebrate. Hopefully it's safe. Hopefully it's happy and healthy. I know right now we don't like to talk about it that much, but the variant is ripping through right now. Safe, and hopefully it's not as isolated and lonely as last year's was, if that was the case for you. Hopefully necessary precautions are being taken, whatever those precautions are to you. That is your business, not mine. But again, hopefully the holiday is good to you. Hopefully it's better than last year, and hopefully all of these items on the wish list come true, with the exception of 6:30 games, unless Atkins and Shapiro, you are listening and you want to make that exception for me.
I got one other thing for you too. Yeah.
What's up?
I got one other thing too that I didn't realize this, but happened to be goofing around on our wonderful metrics and whatnot from our new employment as being the official podcast of the Jays Journal which is part of fanside.com. Adam, you happen to be hosting on your 100th episode as a part of the team.
Look at that.
That's cool.
Look at that.
So, episode 287 total. Brendan, you have a little bit more than him. I didn't realize you're almost at 150. So, basically, we hit our 300th episode, and you're close to 150.
Well, that makes sense, because it's a once a week really for a year. So you got about a year on me. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah,
congratulations.
Thank you. Well, it's a team effort, and being the weakest link here, I'm just happy to be here, guys. So, that being said, hopefully your holiday is great. I think next week we're gonna go for Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. It's Brennan. Okay.
I think so. Yep.
And it's Craig hosting duty next week if we're doing. Okay.
I believe so.
So we will have a pre-New Year's episode for you lined up next week. But again, make sure your holiday is great. Get drunk. Don't drive. If depending on where you're at and it's legal, smoke some weed. Just chill out and
go to the weed shop right down the street if I want.
There you go. There you go. Just be happy and
do that here in New York now too.
Yeah. There you go. Not in Rhode Island. Anyways, so that being said, let me get a 2 claps and a Ric Flair, and we'll close it out. Let's go Blue Jays.
Woo!
Let's go Blue Jays.